But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it, because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
The people are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. Yeah. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes.
So President Trump is going around visiting disaster areas across the country, and honestly, I think one of the best representations of good Trump, of Trump who understands politics, who understands people, is actually his visit to the citizens of North Carolina, and how he actually put them up on the podium in order to discuss all the different issues that they're dealing with, and then took time to call out insurance companies for failing the people of North Carolina, and of course the Biden administration. However, obviously, there's a reason why we opened with President Trump with Karen Bass in Los Angeles, because this kind of contentious interaction is what I'm 100% here for. I know it's what you guys are 100% here for, and it just makes all the sense in the world for the president to call out the ridiculous regulations and red tape going on in the state of California, in the city of Los Angeles, that are going to prevent people from being able to clear out their property, much less rebuild them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to remind you guys that my friend Devin Tracy, his family lost their home in the California wildfires. He has started a GoFundMe in order to support them. Link to that in the top of the description. If you can donate, please do. If you can't or don't want to because you don't like Devin, I understand. I'm just trying to help a friend.
You gotta. I don't want to be the only one to give you permits like in one day, and then I find out that the cities, the towns, and the state is not going to give you permits. The problem with permits, it only takes one. You might need 7 different permits. You shouldn't have any at this point. You should just let them build.
So right here, you see Trump having a back and forth with somebody in the crowd. We actually got a shot of them at the beginning of this video that's actually posted on the Forbes YouTube channel. But there's different versions of this interaction that are all floating around. I just happen to like this one based on the position of the camera, because you can see some of the people that are back there that are talking. Now, of course, they're going to go to Karen Bass, who's going to respond to the allegations that it's going to take 18 months for these people to even start the rebuild of their property. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys 100% what the reality is, which is it's probably going to take longer than that before these people are able to break ground. Make no mistake about it. And that's what President Trump is addressing right here.
Really appreciate you coming, and especially you come just a few days after your inauguration. So I want you to know that your presence here is very much appreciated. Let me also say that I know you had an opportunity to see the devastation. You've seen the extreme loss, the grief that people are going through here. And we are 100% committed to getting this neighborhood rebuilt again. You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No. That will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope you're right.
You can hold me to it.
This floor group said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
So right there, Karen Bass is saying, we're going to cut the red tape. We're going to put all the different various offices in one place so that you could talk to them in the disaster and relief zone.
I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly. And they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste, what's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
Last night, 18 months. So if that's not the answer, Mayor Bass, what is the answer? Because that's what we were all told last night.
And let me just tell you that we are going to do everything we can, slashing regulations, expediting everything so that people can begin the process right away. You know, we have the Disaster Recovery Center on Pico and Westwood. We have building and safety there. People are already contacting the local agencies. We're bringing our city departments together so that people don't get caught in the loop of going from one room to the next. We want them all to be in the same room so that you can get busy rebuilding ASAP.
So that way you're going to have no issues at all whatsoever. And I will just point out that of the thousands of homes that were destroyed, if they all have to go to one central location in order to get permits, this is essentially going to be like a DMV type situation for these individuals. And it is again going to be quick on California time, which might be that 18-month timetable that we're hearing about. Now, I will remind you guys that I actually listened to a podcast where Anna Kasparian was with that Jillian Michaels woman, and she told Anna that when her home burned down, her California home, in a previous wildfire, it actually took her a full year as a wealthy woman in the Los Angeles area, in the state of California, in order to get the permit just to clear the trash from her place, just to clear the debris away. So make no mistake about it, this is a real thing. If you have money, if you have the time, if you can put in the effort, if you could spend whatever, you still end up taking a year in order to rebuild, and this is the problem in the state of California. Again, this is why they don't do forest management, because environmental lobbies put so much pressure on the government, they end up suing over everything, and that ends up making it an impossible task to get anything basic done. And I will also remind you that one of the reasons why the damage is so extensive in the Pacific Palisades is because they had a reservoir. It's called the San Ynez Reservoir, which covers that particular area. It holds 117 million gallons of water, and guess what? There was a tear in the cover that covers the reservoir. It needed to be repaired, so they ended up draining it. The repair should have taken a week, and by the way, the reason why they drain it is because they don't want debris to get into the water source. However, almost a full year later, no progress had been made on repairing that actual tear in the reservoir cover.
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for?
Since February of last year. There was no communication from the Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue.
The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty. This reservoir holds 117 million gallons of water. The fire department was using a water supply from 3 backup tanks, each one only holding 1 million gallons of water.
So what ends up happening when the Palisades fire breaks out? Guess what? Instead of 117 million gallons plus 3 1 million gallon backup tanks, they only have the 3 1 million gallon backup tanks. So when people tap the fire hydrants, guess what? There's no water coming out of it, and that definitely made it worse. And a lot of California government officials will say, look, no water system on Earth, no amount of water could have been able to solve this and all that. But the fact of the matter is, having 40 times the amount of water than was available would have been better than having 40 times less the water, which is what they actually had at that time. And by the way, I will also point out that Rick Caruso was able to foresee the fire, was able to hire private fire trucks with their own water tanks, so they weren't even tapping the city system, protect his own property, and he did this 2 days before Karen Bass ended up leaving to go to Ghana in order to celebrate their president's inauguration. So yes, a mayor that's actually competent, and he was the mayoral candidate that narrowly lost to Karen Bass, could have foreseen these issues and actually addressed them in a better way. This isn't hindsight, or maybe it's hindsight from me because I'm looking back on this, but you actually had somebody with the foresight to understand the problem, and that person wasn't Karen Bass.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And we will clear the lots. Absolutely. In the city and in the county. We are working together. Both levels of government are working in unity.
So here you have Karen Bass talking about how we're going to let you clear out the debris. Don't worry about it. We're going to do it for you. We're moving with the state government and all of that. And everything's going to be A-OK, first class all the way. And now I will just point out that the state government has completely failed. The local government has completely failed. I pointed out that that reservoir was empty. And the excuse is that they've drop for this have been absurd.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation to understand what was happening with that local reservoir.
Again, that Gavin Newsom clip where he's asked about the empty reservoir and he says all the reservoirs were full. It's an absolute lie that water was an issue. And then immediately the reporter points out that a reservoir was empty. And then Gavin pivots to, oh, that's why I ordered an investigation into that particular reservoir. And make no mistake about it, the investigation is actually a delay tactic. It is meant to obfuscate responsibility because I just told you why that reservoir was empty. They had a tear in the cover from February of 2024. It should have taken a week to fix that tear in the cover. They didn't do it in a week. It took almost a year with no progress made. That's why it was empty. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I don't need to put on the detective uniform in order to solve that because we already have all the information available. But right here, President Trump is going to do one of the things that just makes him good at politics, which is press Karen Bass on behalf of the people who actually want to clean up their own debris so that they can start the process of rebuilding their properties.
Is that to be 18 months? Is it not 18 months? Is it like we that's the answer that we got, and that's what we're all hanging on.
Yes.
So if you're telling us now faster, is it 6 months? Is it, I mean, all of our lives, rents, all this stuff is weighing on this.
6 months. No,
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can. But we want you to be safe, and we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
They can.
You should let them do it because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
People are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can't.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do its lot.
So look, if you know anything about American politics, you know that the mainstream media, which is majority Democrat, overwhelmingly so, is always going to hate the Republican. They're always going to go after him, and we all understand that to a certain degree. But if you want to know why the elites don't like President Trump, if you want to know why the mainstream is so against him and why Democrats are so crazy in their opposition to him, make no mistake about it, it is that right there. The fact that he does not follow the basic parameters where all the politicians come together, they hug each other in a nonpartisan way and say, wow, you're doing a great job. Wow, what a great job we're all doing for you. President Trump actually doesn't play those games to this extent, so he decides to go there and say, no, you're doing a terrible job. You need to let them clear the debris. You need to cut it out, cut through the red tape, use your emergency powers in order to do so. And Karen Bass is trying to go back at him. You can hear her voice crack because she's getting frustrated because she's actually being held accountable, and she's being held accountable by the President of the United States of America. So this is not a reporter in an airport that she could just not talk to and walk away from like she definitely did while she was flying back from Ghana.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
And this is why they despise President Trump, and this is why regular, ordinary people, many of them, like President Trump. Even people who don't vote for him, or didn't vote for him, or aren't interested in him, definitely appreciate this on behalf of the president, because in reality, she's like, oh, you'll go back soon, she's trying to be vague, and he's pressing for a timetable. He's pressing for her to actually engage in this, and when these people don't get the permits, when they get held up by all the regulations, because Karen Bass is already talking about the safety issue, again, all of the regulations, almost all of them, are due to safety or environmental issues, which again appeal to safetyism. They're going to know who to blame, and they're going to know who was on their side.
I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important
a week
thing
is a long
people
time.
to be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them. Everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
Last night.
And that was last night.
So again, you have President Trump pressing on this particular issue. He's saying a week is a very long time. These people are standing in front of their lots. They want to go to work. They're already right there. However, they're not able to do so because they need to get a permit. And we talked about Jillian Michaels taking a year to get a permit in order to clean out her property after a fire affected it. And also, I want to point out, while Karen Bass is saying we're doing emergency powers, while Gavin Newsom is saying we're doing emergency powers, that emergency powers were invoked in the state of Hawaii after the Maui fires. And guess what? The overwhelming majority of those properties that were burned up, I believe 2 years ago at this point in time, they haven't even cleared the debris. They haven't even started the rebuild because environmental groups like the Sierra Club that have a huge hold over the state of California ended up suing the governor there for trying to invoke the emergency powers. So guess what? Just saying it doesn't actually get this done. You have all these environmental groups like the Sierra Club that have a ton of influence over California politics, that know the laws, have written these laws, have gotten them passed into law, that can sue over every single type of fire mitigation, every single type of construction, all in the name of Mother Earth, all in the name of Gaia. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't actually address that at the local level and at the state level, you're not going to solve the problem. All of these people are going to be waiting for a long time, and this little bit of humiliation that Karen Bass is feeling is just going to be temporary and in the moment. So President Trump, it is important for him to go on record here and say that he is in favor of these people, because we know the state of California and the city of Los Angeles is going to screw them over. They are going to create problems for them because that's what they do. So I also want to point out, by the way, that the justification for the lawsuit from the Sierra Club is that they said deregulating in order to accelerate the building back of the properties that were lost in the Maui fires is akin to genocide. Yes, the ACLU and the Sierra Club sued the Hawaii governor during the rebuild. This blocked the rebuild and called it genocide. And the crazy thing about this is that now more Native Hawaiians actually live on the mainland than back in Hawaii. So this lawsuit helped accelerate what could be described as ethnic cleansing. Again, these environmentalists are monsters, pure and simple.
And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them. Everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
That was last night.
And that was last night.
On it. Right.
That was the first time.
Mr. President, We're going to be together next week, and during the interim, many of us are involved in, and Tom McClintock, who you know has been an expert on this for years.
Right there, they zoom in on President Trump. He's saying, you said 18 months, you said 18 months, and then they end up switching back over to the wider shot. Really, the camera just zooms out, and you'll notice that Karen Bass actually doesn't have her microphone anymore. Somebody else has her microphone because her talking, not very good, not very useful. And again, I will point out that a lot of people have highlighted the $17 million cut from the fire department, and a bunch of people on the left say no, they actually added $50 million back to the fire department. But the fact of the matter is, as we discovered, yes, that is true. They cut the $17 million from the operational budget, and they added the $50 million to the new pensions and new healthcare and new pay increases for the firefighters, not saying that they don't deserve it, but at the expense of the maintenance of the trucks. And this is why they have a bunch of vehicles that were completely decommissioned, because they don't have the civilian maintenance staff in order to get them up and running. So it's a horribly mismanaged fire department by Karen Bass. And by the way, one of the most emblematic images of its terrible mismanagement is, of course, that ad that I'm going to show you every time we talk about this California story, where you have the deputy fire chief saying that if you're a man and you need to be carried out by a woman who's not strong enough to carry you out, then you're at fault for that situation.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
So yeah, I'm not hopeful, I'm not optimistic that Karen Bass's government, that thinks it's more important to have overweight women become firefighters, that, by the way, can't meet the physical requirements to become firefighters, is somehow going to be able to allocate funding and, of course, cut through red tape in an effective way to have people rebuild. Again, she probably has to do an equity study on it to determine whether or not the maybe majority white residents of the Pacific Palisades are deserving of having the red tape cut for them, because historical inequities and all that other nonsense that her administration likes to focus on.
Right. We are going to be putting conditions on the money that do two things: require that it be done timely and affordable, and then secondly, that we protect those who will come afterwards. As we speak, there are 6,000 acres burning in my district on the Mexican border. There will be more fires until we include in any disaster relief items which will prevent it or at least mitigate it from happening again.
So right here you have somebody talking about how they want to do strings attached to this actual money that's going to come and help with the disaster relief, and those strings are going to be related to the disaster relief, which, by the way, I am actually in favor of. I think it is good for the federal government in a no strings kind of way to help everyday citizens rebuild their properties and whatnot. But if you're going to send money to the state of California in addition to that for fire mitigation, then you have to actually have, as a condition of them accepting that money, that they change their rules and regulations around fire mitigation and not let them steal it, misappropriate it, and use it for DEI initiatives or whatever other nonsense that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass actually want to use it for. Again, I will point out, I will highlight that they have talked about forest management. Trump has talked about it for years, but people on the right, libertarians, have talked about it for decades, and California is wholly inadequate in that. Gavin Newsom actually cut the budget for forest management, and when he was in office earlier, back in 2021, an NPR expose revealed that he was greatly inflating the number of acres that they were tending to, claiming that they were doing over 90,000, when in reality they were doing about 11,000. Again, nearly a 9-fold inflation of what they're doing. And the thing is, when you lie about something like that and the fire actually comes due, guess what? Everything gets burned up. So yeah, I do appreciate President Trump going after Karen Bass, humiliating her. She definitely deserves it, but I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Trump versus Bass. Till next time.